What is up, and welcome back to another live stream on high altitude investing. Today is the 25th of February 2026, and I decided to hop on another live stream today because crypto is looking good and it's doing exactly what I was planning for it to do. So that's why I decided to hop on a stream today and do a little bit more analysis for crypto. So sharing this link on X and on Discord, and then we can get started here. So Bitcoin looks extremely bullish. I mean, if you look at Bitcoin right now, this thing looks so bullish. It's crazy. You can see that Bitcoin is starting to see a pretty bullish move up off of these lows down here. We found support and we're violently moving on the upside currently with Bitcoin. And it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to see a break above either one of these resistance levels, especially considering the fact that Bitcoin has increasing price and volume at the same time. You can see right here, the price of Bitcoin is increasing as well as the volume. So that's a strong buy signal for Bitcoin. So this actually looks really good. This looks like a pretty typical kind of double bottom structure. This being our first bottom here and our second low being put in currently. In fact, if you look at Bitcoin, another really good example of one of these, let's pull up Bitcoin on the bottom as well. And we'll go back over to 2015, actually. And here in 2015, you can see Bitcoin did a double bottom kind of pattern, very similar to what we're seeing right now on Bitcoin. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see this kind of a run with a parabolic sort of break up through our local resistance here, and for us to start to make a triangle and for us to break up through. My voice is mainly back, by the way. I'm still kind of recovering, but it's mainly back, so just bear with me. But yeah, Bitcoin looks really bullish here in terms of the double bottom pattern that we see forming currently, and how much bullish price action we saw since the last live stream that I was talking about Bitcoin. So you can see how fast things can just start to happen in these markets. Operation Shutdown, what is up? Thank you for taking some time to tune in. Teresa, what is up? Thank you for tuning in to today's live stream. FFA wants me to do analysis on POL. So let's pull up POL. POL. So this is a pretty typical kind of bottom pattern as well. This time we have a left shoulder and a head and a right shoulder. So a little bit different. Let's just isolate just this one chart here, not have two. So this is an inverse head shoulders pattern on Polygon. We have broke through the neckline here a little bit. You can see we started to break up through the neckline. So what I do think will happen is we will see more upside, because once you get above those confirmation levels on whatever trading pattern you're using, whether it's inverse head shoulders, whether you're looking at, double bottom, double top, once you break above that neckline, that confirms a pattern. And at that point, there's a high probability that the market will follow through in the direction of the pattern. And in this case, we should see more upside coming for good old Polygon. Let's pull up Litecoin as well. Megamind, what is up? Thank you for tuning in. Pull up Litecoin here. Litecoin looking good. You can see Litecoin actually pushed up through its local resistance right here, which is really good to see that it broke up through. So this could be the first higher high in a higher high, higher low trend. In other words, an uptrend, because you have to have some type of, whenever you bottom, here's the thing. If you're in a downtrend, the market's making lower highs and lower lows. If you're in an uptrend, the market's making higher lows and higher highs. So at some point at the bottom of a bearish trend, you have to have a higher high, higher low pattern where you shift from it being a downtrend into an uptrend. And once you get that shift where you're moving from a downtrend into an uptrend, it usually looks something kind of like this, where the market's clearly deviating from the downtrend. And sometimes you will get an ABC up. So in a downtrend, you can have corrections like this, where the market goes up like this and then goes lower like this. So sometimes you can have fake outs where it looks like the market's bottoming. You think it's going to break out, start to turn around, but it was really just this is a classic kind of corrective move inside of a downtrend, right? An ABC wave in the opposite direction of the trend, which in this case it's down, so the ABC goes up. So this can happen sometimes, but usually not at the bottom of a big correction. That's the kind of stuff that happens along the way down, right? Like this right here, ABC. This right here is an ABC corrective wave up as well. If we look back over here, some type of corrective. So in a downtrend, you will get those relief rallies, but there is a point where the bottom is real, where it's not a false bottom like this, but it's actually the real bottom. And the market will turn around, but in order to do that, it has to make a higher high, higher low pattern, right? It has to shift from a downtrend to an uptrend. And here with Litecoin, to see a breakthrough, this resistance right here is actually a really good sign in terms of the reversal structure, because you have to have, at some point, you have to push up through and start making higher highs and higher lows if you're going to have a reversal happen. Otherwise, you're just downtrending continuously. So that's what I see here with Litecoin, is the potential for a bottoming structure. The bottom of Litecoin could be forming as we speak, in which case the price should keep pushing up through. Since we already pushed up through this major area of resistance, this should be the beginning of a higher high, higher low pattern, rather than just these little relief rallies that just lead to more downward movement, right? Where the price is moving up a little bit, but then it gets rejected and goes lower. But that is how the market moves. It moves in legs, so you'll get like a bullish leg like this, and then you'll get a bearish leg come into the market like this. And obviously it can take all different sizes and lengths depending on where you're at in the trend. Like wave 1 and wave 2 are typically very deep like this, where you pump really hard, then you pull back all the way down and have a very deep kind of two-wave structure. But sometimes, like with a 3-wave, you might get a bullish impulse like this, where the market's impulsing like this, but then it doesn't go as deep. For the wave 4, it goes like this, and then you get another impulse wave like this. But you can see how the whole way up, the market is moving in impulse waves, in legs, like a big, here's a leg up right here, a leg down, another leg up right here, another leg down, and another leg up right here. So that's the way the market moves. So when you have a big downward leg like this with a whole bunch of little bearish legs, the whole way down, at some point you're going to get a reversal, right? So if you look at Litecoin here, let's zoom out to like the 4-day. Here's what I mean by this. If you look at Litecoin here on the 4-day time frame, you can see Litecoin has this huge leg down right here, this big leg up right here, this big leg down right here. Then we move sideways inside of this huge channel, like this super long, horizontal, low volatility channel. So Litecoin used to pump. Back here, it pumped. And it dumped right here in 2018 as well. So Litecoin used to pump, but now it's just been moving sideways in this channel forever. But the thing is it's at the bottom of one of these big legs. See this huge leg down? So when you're in the market and you're looking in the big time frames, you're looking for the big corrections, the big legs down, the big drops, because those are going to tell you when the market is the most undervalued in the bigger time frame, which is the most profitable time to be getting into the market. Just like how Litecoin had a big leg down right here, you can see Litecoin had a big crash in price, and people that bought the bottom of that big dump, that big bearish impulse wave, made a lot of money on the way back up, right? But you can just see, if you're looking at Litecoin right now, like going out to even a bigger time frame, you can just see that Litecoin is at the bottom of one of those big legs down. It's not at the top, so it's undervalued down here. And even zoomed in right here as well, you can see we just finished a leg down, leg up, leg down. So the market moves in these sort of bullish impulse waves, bearish impulse waves, big moves up, big moves down. And sometimes it can break out of that too and start a whole new trend and get dwarfed. So here's what I mean by that. So let's pull up Litecoin on Bitfinex, so LTC USD. If you look at Litecoin here on Bitfinex and you go back, way back in the day, its first cycle is pretty small in comparison to the cycle that comes after. See how big it pumped right here in 2017 in comparison to this pump right here that happened? Right, this pump that happened right here in 2013. 2017 was way bigger. So it broke free from this little cycle into this whole bigger pattern. So you can get, so even though the market, for example, even though Litecoin has done this big pump, this big pullback, this big pump, this big pullback, sideways accumulation, it can break free out of this and go into a bigger thing like this and break free out of that accumulation and just really completely go into a whole new trend that's completely bigger and more powerful than the previous accumulation or anything that we saw up to that point. And this is what markets do. This is like, as long as there's demand for something, this is what markets do. I mean, here's the internet bubble, right? But if you zoom out, look how much it's grown since then. So we're basically just in another big bubble. You know, it just looks like this all over again, just happening in this big. And yeah, it will probably pump a little bit more before the true top here on the stock market. But you can see how the stock market's just in a big bubble, just like it was in during the internet bubble, you know? And so that's what markets do, is they have these times when they're pumping or dumping or making market cycles or sideways accumulation. Then they'll break free out of those into these bigger patterns, these bigger fractals of the market, and they'll really start to just totally run to the moon and completely deviate from the old size of the previous cycle into a whole bigger cycle. A really good example of this is the Dow Jones during the Great Depression. If you pull up the Dow Jones here and you look at the Dow Jones, here's the Great Depression. If you zoom in, yeah, it looks like a big pump, the Roaring 20s, huge pump. Great Depression, big, huge crash, you know, just huge drop in the market here. Total just obliteration of price. Obviously, the Roaring 20s was pretty bullish, but if you look, the Dow Jones is just this huge, bigger, massive pump all over again, just like what happened in the Roaring 20s. And honestly, it will probably keep going up here, but you can see how before it finally does crash, but you can see how the market is doing the same type of thing all over again. It's just a bigger version of what happened in 1929. It's just a bigger fractal of the same human psychology. So that's what markets do, is they break out of these little patterns, these little fractals, accumulations, whatever you want to call them, into these bigger stories, bigger uptrends, bigger, more powerful uptrends, and that's where you get the biggest growth and the most profitable moves. That's why I was so glad I got into crypto in 2015, because you can see crypto is at the bottom of one of those accumulations, getting ready to break out into a whole new big cycle and grow and expand as an industry. And that's exactly what happened. And it was super profitable and super fun to trade that move in 2017 because of the timing of the market. But buying Litecoin right now is pretty much the same as like buying it as when I first got into it, because Litecoin is at the bottom of one of those accumulations all over again. And I'm super excited for when it breaks out bullish into its own uptrend and goes to the moon, because it's going to be super fun, extremely profitable, and you guys are going to be really blown away when you, and some of you guys have seen this, some of you guys have traded crypto for long enough, or other stuff too, to see markets explode and to know what it looks like when it does, how it expands out into this whole new cycle all over again. But for you guys that haven't seen it, or for the people that are maybe leaning more bearish right now, it's going to surprise people in a pretty profound way when they see this market blow up. I mean, just imagine, obviously, these are markets, right? So I'm 100% honest. The markets could just go to zero. Anybody that invests in anything should understand, if you're buying something, there's a chance that the value of it goes to zero. Some stuff it's a lot lower, other stuff it's a lot higher, but you have to take some degree of risk if you're going to invest in something. But just for speculative purposes, let's say that Litecoin pumps like really hard. Okay, let's say Litecoin pumps totally to the moon, all the way up through its old all-time high over here, and just goes to the moon, just like what happened to Nvidia over here on the right. Imagine how much that market has to grow, but imagine how exciting it is when it breaks out of those old accumulations and pumps like this all the way to the moon. Imagine how profitable, how just totally exciting it is, and how it just totally blows you away because it completely breaks through the old all-time high. That's what I want you guys to start thinking about, because the possibility of this happening is actually pretty high. Like I said, yeah, anything has risk, but the probability of crypto doing this is actually pretty high. It's actually pretty high probability that we see a big breakout for Litecoin, just like what we saw with Nvidia. The only part that you have to wonder about, how high is it going to go? And nobody knows, but if it breaks out in the same way that Nvidia did, the future price action on the upside is totally astronomical. Like, you're talking about just totally massive gains on the upside. It could do a run like Nvidia and just totally dwarf its old accumulation cycle and break out into this whole new trend where it's totally mooning and blowing up in a very profound way. Like, that's 100% possible. I've seen it before. I've seen these accumulations. I know what it looks like when people are skeptical, when they're thinking small, when they're thinking too short term, and then all of a sudden the market breaks out of the accumulation into this whole new uptrend and blows people away. It happens more than people care to admit in the markets, and it happens with crypto fairly frequently. Megamind wants me to cover Pepe. Sure, let's pull up Pepe. Let's drop to the daily here for Pepe. This looks really good. First of all, I love how we're starting to break bullish here, because anytime you break above like a downward trending resistance level, like what we see right here with Pepe, that's a good sign, because if you can break above downward trending resistance, it could be the early signs of an uptrend, right? We've been in a downtrend for Pepe ever since our peak over here in 2024. But once you start breaking bullish out of downward trending resistance levels, then you can really start to get excited about the market. And it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to start to see a bullish breakout for Pepe sooner rather than later. We broke bullish, zoomed in there at that little line that I was just showing. But if you're zoomed out like this, we also have a bigger downward trending resistance line. And I think we will, I think we will break bullish of this downward trending resistance line very soon. So we should see something like this, right? Push up through. The second we break above this trending line right here, this downward trending, that will tell us that the price of Pepe is probably going to just totally skyrocket. Just like how it did over here, as it broke bullish out of this downward trending resistance line right here. You can see we broke above this one, and the price went to the moon. So that's the first thing I'd be looking at. The second thing that you can see here with Pepe is a big ABC correction as well. So that's a big, just classic ABC correction. It's also a bit of a triangle. If you look at Pepe here, we're in a triangle. So these are the things that you look for, because if you break bullish out of this triangle pattern, you're talking about a whole bunch of momentum coming out into the market in a very, very short period of time. Like just total bullish break like this. Because what a triangle essentially does is it squeezes momentum and it builds up pressure. And then once you break bullish out of that triangle, that's really when the market starts to just totally moon. And that's exactly what I think will happen for Pepe, is that we will get a bullish breakout in terms of our Elliott wave cycle here for this coin, which, by the way, if you guys don't know, I did call Pepe. I told everybody to buy Pepe right here publicly in a video on my channel for free, just because I knew Pepe was doing an inverse head and shoulders here. It looked super bullish, and I just knew Pepe was going to totally moon, and that's exactly what it did. The price of Pepe went all the way to the moon here, just totally blew people away. So with that being said, it honestly looks like it's ready for the next big bullish impulse. So if you look right here, we have wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pretty typical 5-wave structure here for Pepe. But we also have an ABC correction as well. A, B, and C, right? Perfect ABC correction as well. With bullish divergence at the same time, you have bullish divergence forming. So we have all of these patterns. We have triangles, ABC corrections, Elliott wave patterns. Everything is telling me that Pepe is in wave 1 and wave 2. That this is wave 1, wave 2. Those are the subwaves of wave 1 and 2. Because all Elliott waves can be subdivided. So that 5-wave impulse and the ABC correction is the subwaves. And now we're really preparing for wave 3. Now, whether the price of Pepe breaks out right now, like it looks like it might, or whether it was even to go slightly lower, this is wave 2. And at some point, wave C is going to be done, and it will have to turn around and turn into a bull market. It's not going to be a bear market forever. We've been correcting since the top in 2024. Like, most stuff is undervalued, not overvalued, and it's super easy to see. I personally think we will get a bullish breakout. Things are looking bullish. So this could be the bottom, even at current price for Pepe. It's possible for that to happen. Some of the other corrections that I've seen that look kind of like Pepe, if we pull up stellar lumens here, actually the stellar lumens correction in 2017 reminds me quite a bit of Pepe. Here is stellar lumens. Stellar lumens did a big wave 1 and 2. Like this, you can see wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by an ABC correction here. A, B, and C. And then you can see this was all a big wave 1 and 2, right? So in terms of where Pepe is at in its cycle, like what it's setting up for in terms of the Ellie wave cycle, if we pull up Pepe again, go back over to Pepe and just look at Pepe, that's really what it's doing. Pepe is doing that wave 2 in preparation for another bullish impulse wave in the big picture. It's just, that's how you can see this stuff pretty easily if you're zoomed out, because you start to see these big cycles, these big patterns. And if you can see the big pattern, you can see the bullish, wave 1 and wave 2 before a big 3 wave happens in the market. See that? Pretty similar. Now, obviously, wave 2 can take different shapes and sizes and depths and retracements. Some of them go deeper. Some of them don't go as deep. Some of them look more ABC corrective. Some of them look more zigzag. Like what's happening with XRP is more of an expanded flat kind of correction, even though technically XRP is in the same point in its cycle right here. XRP did more of an expanded flat type structure, where this is wave A, B, and C like this, right? And then we have our 5-wave impulse here, wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you can see that even though XRP is a completely different coin than Pepe, it's not a meme coin, whatever, XRP is also doing this big wave 1 and 2 in preparation for another bullish impulse wave, just like what happened to Stellar Lumens in 2017. Again, we'll pull up the Stellar Lumens chart here. In the case of Stellar Lumens, it was more of a deep ABC zigzag correction. In the case of XRP, it's more of an expanded flat correction. But you can see how both XRP currently and Stellar Lumens back in 2017 also had to do a correction before that big parabolic run happened in the market. And you can even see right here how there's this big kind of bloody just fall off a cliff right here in price. That's pretty similar to what just happened, honestly. Like the price of XRP could have done a capitulation event. Like what we just saw could be a classic capitulation. In other words, the final sell-off, the final just kind of bloody, just brutal drop before the bullish reversal happens and all of the price momentum shifts in the other direction. What is up, everybody? Thank you guys all for tuning in to today's live stream. Looks like somebody wants me to do XDC, so I will happily cover XDC for you. But before we do, though, I'm going to go ahead and read some of the other messages as well. Doge, please, just bought more. Dallin called it. LTC is proof of work. Okay, yeah, let's cover XDC for you here, and then I'll get to everybody else's messages and stuff. So, pretty classic market cycle, right? You can see right here, wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5-wave structure in the market, followed by an ABC correction. Wave A, B, and C. Okay, so there's a classic 5-wave impulse followed by an ABC correction. This is what happens in markets all the time. Totally normal, totally typical of a market cycle. So let's go to like a 3-day time frame here, actually, and let's pull up the NASDAQ composite during the internet bubble again. I know I use this a lot, but you guys have to understand, like, these cycles really are so similar that you have to study the similarities between them, because that's how you're going to get a better idea of what's happening in these markets. So if you look at the NASDAQ composite here on the right, and if you look at XDC over here on the left, it's actually pretty much the same thing. So let me elaborate here. With the NASDAQ composite, we do have wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5-wave impulse, followed by an ABC correction, A, B, and C. Then what happened to the NASDAQ is we did a big double bottom pattern here, big double bottom like this, just like what happened here with XDC as well. That's exactly what's happened. Now this is crypto, so of course, again, when you're comparing these fractals together, they're not going to be exactly the same. Like you're not going to get, sometimes they get pretty similar. Like sometimes it's crazy how similar the fractal pattern is. But for the most part, because markets are subject to human error and all of these different things, you will get varieties of the same fractal pattern. So you can see right here, there's a deeper correction here. That didn't happen here on the NASDAQ. And also, it didn't quite pump as hard on the NASDAQ either, right? It just pumped up to right here, but it didn't go all the way up here like it did on XDC. But in terms of where XDC is at in its cycle, buying XDC right now is exactly like buying the NASDAQ composite right here in 2009, at the bottom of the 2008 correction. It's the same in terms of the cycle, it's the same point, the same spot. So what you want to be looking for here with XDC now is that same type of a bullish sort of an uptrend to form off of these lows. And I do think it will happen, where we will see kind of a big monstrous uptrend coming here for XDC. In fact, this is the same thing that's coming for AVAX as well. If you just pull up AVAX, AVAX is the same thing as well. I've shown this example in other live streams as well. But you can see AVAX is at the bottom of the disbelief phase of its cycle. So it's preparing for a big parabolic run. Most of crypto is preparing for a big parabolic run in a very profound sort of bullish, just crazy epic sort of way. And XDC is no different. XDC is at the same point of the cycle the AVAX is at right here. And then the NASDAQ, excuse me, I'm almost better, you guys. But maybe by tomorrow I'll be fully better, right? The NASDAQ did here in 2009. The same point of the cycle right there in 2009. So I do think we will get a full-blown recovery on AVAX, but also XDC, and a whole bunch of different altcoins in a very profound sort of way that's going to blow people away. Like I said, the new cycle dwarfs the old one. So it's basically like you go into a whole nother bubble all over again. Just like what happened during the internet bubble, you can see the stock market turned into another big bubble that we're in right now. And it's probably not even done still. It's probably going to keep going higher, but it's in a big bubble. So with crypto will do the same thing. Crypto will break out into this big parabolic sort of, I like to call it mass adoption rather than a bubble, even though it technically will go into an overvalued phase and get to a point where crypto is just overvalued and just totally in a bubble phase. But really what's coming for crypto is a big mass adoption, because this is what happened. The internet, this is the internet bubble, but this is the internet mass adoption. The reason the economy grew so much is really mainly because of the internet. Like other stuff too, but the internet's like the fundamental thing that caused so much growth in the US economy. So what's coming for crypto is that same type of mass adoption, right? A true adoption after the bubble. Because the bubble phase happened in 2021. Like a proper bubble was 2021, honestly, for crypto. Excuse me, you guys. I'll be better soon, I promise. So with that being said, crypto is ready to do that again. It's ready to break out into a big bubble type phase all over again. That's what it's set up to do, into a big mass adoption bubble parabolic type run. And most all of these coins look like they're ready to do that. Somebody requested Dogecoin. If we pull up Dogecoin is no different. It's not like Dogecoin is somehow going to just get left behind in this big crypto total mania phase that's coming. No, Dogecoin will do the same thing. You know what Dogecoin is doing? It looks like the NASDAQ too. If you look at Dogecoin right now and you look at the NASDAQ over here on the right, Here is the disbelief phase on the NASDAQ in 2009. Here is disbelief currently on Dogecoin. It's really the exact same thing. It's the same pattern, the same setup. So buying Dogecoin right now in preparation for a big parabolic kind of growth, like a big just overvalued bubble type phase, is super smart. Like, it's super smart to do that. So that's why I tell people, hey, buy as many good projects as you possibly can, like as many that are just totally discounted, because a lot of stuff is projects that you believe in. Even, you know what, even if you have to do a little bit extra to get more money to put it in, like if you have to work a little harder, I say go for it, because the potential reward is just so astronomically high. And because of how oversold we are across the board, the risk is just so ridiculously low that it's almost painful not to like just take advantage of it once you see it for what it is. Like, if you have a correct understanding of what's coming for a lot of these coins, it's just like would be so ridiculous not to take advantage of the price action that's coming for the crypto market in terms of upside. All right. Can you please check ADA? What is your opinion on what the target could be? Sure, I'll happily pull up Cardano here for you. Same point of the market cycle as well for Cardano. Let's pull it up on Binance so we get the full proper chart here. But really, it's at the same point of the cycle as well. If you pull up the NASDAQ still on the right and Cardano over here on the left, just like how we were looking at with Dogecoin, you can see that Cardano is at the bottom of one of those disbelief phases, just exactly like what happened to Dogecoin as well. We're at the bottom of a disbelief phase right here. And here's our pump right here in 2021. Bubble, parabolic pump. We pulled back, then we bounced back up, and now we're back on support. Just like what happened to the internet bubble, big bubble, dump, big double bottom, big parabolic run. So really where Cardano is at in its cycle is the disbelief phase of the cycle. What it's getting ready to do is a big parabolic run, just exactly like what happened to the NASDAQ as it broke bullish out of its disbelief phase and went to the moon. That's what's coming for Cardano. It's a pretty simple, easy to read, perfect sort of setup, and I do believe it will see a big run just like that, just like what happened to the internet bubble. It looks super, super good. So I do believe we will see that happen. Everyone, please hit the like button. Well, thank you, Tam. I appreciate the encouragement and the kind words. Again, everybody to like my my live streams. I see Pepe hitting 0.0002. I actually don't know what price Pepe is at currently. I have to look. It's one of those crazy ones. So let's see here. 0.0002. Let's see here. How many zeros? 0, or let's see. Pepe, 0. 5 zeros. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, so you think it's going to go lower? Well, it could, but I don't know. I think it's going to turn around soon. Like, I honestly believe crypto will see a big pump even in the short term. So I love Pepe, but it has a long ways to go down. We have a big bear market coming still. BTC will have to go to 40K. Pepe will hit 0.01. I mean, dude, anything's possible, but I really don't think it's going to happen. Like, I really believe crypto will see a proper bullish reversal here. All the proper signs are here for a good bullish reversal, bullish divergence, oversold prices, a lot of bearish talk. It just looks really primed for a bullish reversal, to be honest with you. Big data protocol, sure, I'll pull it up. Big data protocol. Crypto big data protocol. Big data protocol. Here we go. See, this actually looks pretty good. This is at the bottom of a big accumulation, big just total fall off a cliff in price here. Let's just isolate just this one chart so we're not confused here. This actually looks pretty good, to be honest with you. Like, we're at an all-time low. We're starting to turn around here. This is clearly an ABC correction here. ABC, like this. We have increasing volume as it's starting to mellow out. Lower volatility, sideways action. This could be the beginning of a bullish kind of move here. You see a little bit of bullish candle coming in here for BDP. I think this could start to pump right here, to be honest with you. This is pretty much an all-time low, and we're super oversold, undervalued. I think this should see some type of a pump. For sure up to these lower resistance levels right here, maybe not quite these higher ones up here. We could though, but I do think we will start to pump here on big data protocol in the near future. That looks extremely oversold. And it's already starting to pump, to be honest with you. PTGC. Sure, I'll pull up PTGC. PTGC. The Gray's currency. Good old PTGC, man. Yeah, it's starting to be bullish, kind of like what I talked about. It's starting to break out bullish off of these lows. I think we will continue to do so. We will continue to see bullish price action up off of these lows and start to see a rounded bottom ultimately right here, right? Because this will be a big rounded bottom for PTGC. This should start to break up through this resistance as well, because we do have a little bit of resistance right here. But we should start to break up through that resistance, no problem. Because here's the thing. At the bottom of a big ABC correction, all resistance gets destroyed. If you're at the bottom of a big ABC like we are here with PTGC, if we go to like the 3-day time frame and zoomed out here, you can see we're at the bottom of this big ABC correction, right? So anytime you're at the bottom of a big ABC correction, expect price to just totally pump, because when it bottoms out, all of that bearish momentum turns into bullish momentum. So there's this whole shift in trading psychology that takes place in the market, where a whole bunch of bullish price action happens really fast. Because just like if you drop a bouncy ball, it bounces back up. That's what a big ABC correction is. So usually at the bottom of a big ABC correction, right? A, B, C. At the bottom of a big ABC correction like this, usually you will get a nice bullish, like a really sharp sort of bullish recovery and push right up through resistance, even getting above wave A, sometimes even going as high as wave B before any big corrections. Like that is fairly typical for markets to do that. Like let's pull up Bitcoin, right? Here's Bitcoin. If we go back over here to Bitcoin right here, you can see here's Bitcoin. Here's an ABC correction on Bitcoin, A, B, and C. You can see the price went all the way up to the top of wave B right here. It pushed right up through all of this resistance and even up through wave B a little bit after it completed the bottom of that ABC correction. So it's like a slingshot. You know, when you finish a big ABC, it's just boom, all this price action goes in the other direction. And sometimes you will get a double bottom like this, right? Because this is a big double bottom, right? But the thing is the reason that there's a big double bottom right there is because it just made a big wave 1 and wave 2 in a bigger picture trend. So this is A, B, and C right here. So you have wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? The reason there was a big double bottom here after this ABC correction is because we had to do a wave 2. And like I said, wave 2 is pretty deep usually. Like the wave 2 is kind of deep and painful in most Elliott wave impulse waves. So yeah, we completed an ABC correction on Bitcoin, then we did a wave 1 and 2, and then pumped all the way to the moon. So that's really PTGC GC could do something pretty similar here. We could see a big pump right here all the way up to the top, followed by a big double bottom, which could lead to a bigger bullish impulse wave, this being wave 1 and wave 2, in a bigger uptrend in the market. Which is possible, especially with descending volume and price like this. This really 100% possible for this to be a big wave 1 and 2 right here, and then the subwave 1 and 2 forming out of this, and to have that big kind of growth, just like what happened right here on Bitcoin. Right, that's what happened on Bitcoin here. Bitcoin had a bullish uptrend, a market cycle formed on Bitcoin like that. It had a big correction. Let's go like this. We'll shift between Bitcoin and PTGC. So you can see that if I line these two charts up like this and just switch between the two kind of fast, so you guys can see, oh, here's Bitcoin cycle, here's PTGC cycle. You can start to see how the next cycle can overtake the previous cycle and really just expand and go parabolic and grow in a big sort of way when you look at Bitcoin here. See, here's PTGC, here's Bitcoin. Here's PTGC, here's Bitcoin. So that's kind of what I mean by the previous cycles getting dwarfed by how much growth happens in the market, because you get just this huge parabolic growth, and it just totally eliminates, totally dwarfs the size of the previous cycle and eliminates all of the previous bearish price action with just this huge expansion in price on the upside. And that's what markets do. That's what, again, back to the Dow Jones, like I was talking about at the start of the stream, that's what the Dow Jones did. If you look, here's the internet bubble. If you zoom into it, not the internet bubble, the Great Depression. If you zoom into it, it looks like a big pump and a big dump here on the Dow Jones, because that was the roaring 20s and the Great Depression. But look how much the market just kept growing after that. Yeah, not without some pretty big drops, but the market kept expanding and kept that Great Depression cycle just got completely dwarfed by the growth that's happened in the Dow Jones since the bottom of the Great Depression. And the same thing will happen for crypto as well. In the big picture, it's just going to keep just growing in a profound sort of way. And markets will have corrections. That's why I tell people, you have to be taking profits, scaling out, because they don't just go up forever. The big stuff that has real world demand, like gold, has just gone up since the beginning of time, right? So stuff that's kind of enduring will keep going up over time, but they won't just continuously go up. There will be bear markets. There will be harder times where the price is going down and people are scared and it's freaking people out, But pretty much if there's demand for something over the long term, it's just going to keep going up, just like gold, just like the Dow Jones, just like crypto. I really believe crypto is one of those things that will just continue to have demand as time goes on, and the price will continue to be driven up higher and higher. Hello, Dallin. Hope you are getting better. Any price targets for Digibyte? I do feel a little bit better today, so I think in the next couple days I'll fully be healed and my voice will be back fully, and it'll be just good old times again. Hope you are any price targets for Digibyte. Let's pull it up, kind of see what price targets we could have for Digibyte. Let's pull up Digibyte. I would like to pull it up here on Binance, but it doesn't have all of the data. So even though it has a better volume profile, let's pull it up over here because we have the full historical data for Digibyte. Because fact of the matter is, Digibyte is pretty much just doing the same type of thing that it did the last time that it did a cycle. So if we pull up our bars pattern tool, and we measure from the top down to the bottom and back up to the top again, you can take the previous cycle and stretch it over what we're doing right now, and you can see, oh, hey, look, the previous bear market on Digibyte is the same thing that it just did. This whole big drop right here followed by the big recovery in price where it just went totally vertical into the moon. That's the same thing that Digibyte is doing right here. See that? So that green in the background, I basically just copy and paste. So how high can it go? Well, I think it could easily break above the old all-time high, go up to like 22 cents, and it's possible for it to even go higher if it breaks free out of this accumulation and goes into a mass adoption phase. It could kind of just go into price discovery and keep going higher. But based on the previous fractal, I think it will for sure, at least for a certain period of time, get above the previous old all-time high. Because you can see that previous bear market led to a break above the old all-time high, but it didn't stay up there and it led to another big correction. So Digibyte could easily go up to 22 cents or even higher. So you would just want to buy as much as you can down here and hold on for the big picture parabolic run and scale out, especially as you get above the old all-time high. Take like 30% off the table, 50% off the table, or even more if you want to play it really safe, and just let the rest ride. Because if the price of Digibyte was to go a lot higher and turn into like a really big thing that people use in a very significant way, like it could, then you're good to go. You've got all this money in the market, and especially if it's all on the house, you can just ride the pump and make a whole bunch of money totally on the house with no risk. If you bought down here dirt cheap at the bottom of a big bear market, like people that bought right here, or people buying right now, when it pumps, you are good to go. You're positioned to really have a whole bunch of money totally on the house. Falling wedge pattern in theta on the weekly time frame. Let's check it out. Let's pull up theta here and see how it looks. Theta. On the weekly time frame, let's pull up the weekly here. Zoom in. I guess you probably mean this big kind of wedge right here. This is a big triangle, by the way. This is a big wedge, big triangle. And yeah, we did break bullish out of it. Some people will draw it a little bit differently. Some people might draw it more like this, connecting like that. But honestly, it broke bullish out of it and it retested as support. So we broke bullish the resistance here and came back down and tested support. So yeah, there is a big falling wedge on theta here on the weekly. And I think it will lead to a big reversal just like this up to all of this liquidity. Because here's the deal. Markets have memory. And there's so much liquidity up here, and we are so oversold, and just so many people are so bearish that the market's going to go back up to those areas where there's liquidity. Like, that's what it's going to do. That's what the market does. It goes back to where there's liquidity. And in this case, there's a lot of liquidity up here at $3, and there's liquidity even at the previous old all-time high and halfway up as well. Here at $8, there's a bunch of liquidity. And here up at 15, there's a lot of liquidity. So those are the areas where the market has memory, where the price can go back to those levels. When it gets overbought, it's going to spring on the downside. And when it gets oversold, it's going to spring on the upside. We're very oversold right now for theta. Like, we're stupid oversold down here. So this is set up to do one of those reversals on the upside. Just like how it had to do a bearish reversal up here. We're so oversold, it's really ready to do a swing back in the other direction. So let's remove all our drawing tools here. Something like this, right? Just like how it was just super hyper extended up here, had to come down. Same thing right now for theta. So I think we're gonna really pop off here. Start to head up to where all this liquidity is at for this coin. Seems like I'm late to the party. Well, welcome anyways. Thank you for taking some time to tune in. I'm so glad I made it to this live, but I got to go back to work. My goal is 100,000 theta. Thank you, man. Well, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, 100,000 theta tokens would be pretty awesome. That would be a pretty good stack for potential future price action. And enjoy your day at work. Any insights on March 3rd, the blood moon? You know, I do pay attention to new moons and full moons, but I don't really pay attention to the blood moon with crypto. What I have noticed though is on a full moon, crypto has a bigger tendency to break bullish, and on a new or no, let me hold on, let me pull up the chart. I don't want to get this wrong. Moon phase. Let's go to the total crypto market cap here. So if you look at the full moon and the new moon, let's go to like a daily time frame here. Okay? If you look right here, every time a new moon would happen, Bitcoin or the total crypto market cap would crash, and every time there was a full moon, the crypto market cap would pump. So although I don't look at the blood moon, I do pay attention to astrology, especially since W.D. Gann was one of the most profitable traders in the stock market in the world. Really cool guy, Freemason, really smart, just totally intelligent trader. Super sharp. This guy made like 50 million or something like that, or 30 million in the stock market in the 1930s, which is just stupid amounts of money in today's world. In terms of today's money. And W.D. Gann used geometry. He used the timing of markets, cyclical timing like time cycles, but he also used astrology. And this guy had a 93% success rate in the market, in the stock market. And if you look right here, whoops. I accidentally hit the airplane mode button on my laptop. Sometimes I do that if I'm trying to delete something. But if you look right here on the total crypto market cap, this was a new moon right here, and this was a full moon. So you can see pretty much almost every time there's a new moon, some type of bearish price action happened, and every time during a full moon, the market was going up. And you can see how that pretty much happened over and over. Full moon, new moon. Right, full moon, and then the new moon happens a little bit early, but for the most part, a big crash happens sometime around during the new moon. Full moon happens, big pump. New moon happens, big crash. Full moon happens, big pump. New moon happens, big crash. Full moon happens, big pump. New moon happens, big crash. You guys get the point. The total crypto market cap historically has reacted more bullishly to full moon. Has a tendency, not 100% success rate, but a tendency to react more bullishly to a full moon and more bearishly to a new moon. And if you look at the price right now, it looks like we did just have a new moon recently, but it doesn't really, it's not 100% type of thing. I have seen pretty big bullish moves happen during new moons as well. So I don't use it as 100%. Like, for example, we're so oversold right now in the crypto markets with the fear and greed index, with Bitcoin, with everything, that even though we're on a new moon, I would definitely lean far more towards the crypto market seeing a bullish move. But as a rule of thumb, if you're on a new moon, higher probability of a downward move. And if you're on a full moon, there's a higher probability of an upward move. Also, I will say the full moon is coming fairly soon. So like if you type in the full moon, when is the full moon coming next? The next full moon will be March 3rd. So that's pretty soon, So really, even though we did drop a little bit here when the new moon started, a full moon is coming soon enough. I think that it will have a bullish reaction here for the total crypto market caps anyways. Or total crypto market cap anyway. So just be watching for some type of a bullish move. So no, I don't look at the blood moon, but I definitely do look at astrology on some degree. It's just like an extra little thing. Specifically, the full moon and the new moon is the only thing that I look at, to be honest with you. I don't look at Mercury in retrograde or anything like that. Just the full moon and the new moon when it comes to crypto. Hello, Dallin. Oh, I already read that one. Penju. Sure, I can pull up Penju. Or Pengu. Pengu, I think I like to call it. So if you look here, let's take off the moon phases here. You can see that this is actually looking pretty good. So we do have a big correction, of course. In the short term, we dropped off quite a bit here from this peak down to where we're at right now, but we're starting to look pretty bullish, especially with this green candle that we currently see. This could easily just totally pop off right here at any point in the near future. Just totally pop off, especially considering the fact that this could be a big double bottom, this being our first low here and our second low right here. Big double bottom pattern for Pengu, right? So I think we will see bullish movement here. This is a market cycle type of thing. First of all, if you take our cycle tool over here on the left, and not the sine cycle, but the time cycle tool, and you click on the bottom here, and let's go ahead and make this like green and more visible. You can see that we're actually the bottom of a bear market. See, this was a bear market bottom here. This was a bear market bottom here. So in terms of time cycles, this is really ready to pop off in a bullish sort of way, just like it did right here and just like it did right here, right? In terms of the cyclical nature of the market, but also even in terms of market cycles like this, like if we pull up Pengu on the left over here, and now let's throw on the NASDAQ. Let's pull up the NASDAQ composite to teach you guys about cycles and the way that this stuff works. Because the NASDAQ composite actually, to be honest with you, the NASDAQ did do the same thing. If you look right here, that's what the NASDAQ did. So you can see this big pump right here during the internet bubble, followed by a big double bottom, and then the price went to the moon. Well, what do you think this was right here? And this right here, and this right here. It's just the same. In terms of the cycle, Pengu right now is the disbelief phase of the cycle. It's right here. It's just where you have a big parabolic run, then you have a big double bottom pattern that happens after, and then the market pumps afterwards. So I actually really like the setup here for Pengu, and I do see a big kind of vertical run here coming up to a new all-time high for this coin. The amount of coins that are bullish right now for crypto is insane. It looks exactly like what happened before 2021 and before 2017, and I had the opportunity to participate in both of those bull markets in both 2021 and 2017, and it was so much fun. And so I know exactly what the charts kind of looked like before those big parabolic pumps in the market, and there's a lot of cryptos that look exactly like pre-2017 or pre-26 or 2021 as well. Very, very profitable parabolic times. So there's a bunch of setups that look just like they did before 2017 and 2021, and that's super exciting to see that. Would love to hear your thoughts on Mana. Sure, I'll pull up Mana. Good old Decentraland. So this one's in the depression phase of a bear market. So if we line this up with the NASDAQ composite over here on the right, you can see this would be the depression phase of the NASDAQ right here. And if you look at Decentraland, here is our bubble phase here in 2021, internet bubble here on the NASDAQ, and here is depression or despair on Decentraland or Mana, and here's depression or despair on the NASDAQ. So what I think is going to happen is something like this, right? Just a big kind of double bottom and reversal up off of these lows, because that's where it's at in terms of the cycle, is the depression phase, and it's really prepared for, it's super oversold, it's really prepared for that phase where we shift out of a bear market into a bull market and start to do like this, right? On the NASDAQ over here on the right, where just boom, just totally pumps and goes to the moon. So that'd be the first thing that I see here with Decentraland. And it's easy to see that because all of crypto, like pretty much all of, like everything in 2021 was in a big internet bubble, basically, just a crypto version of that. And you can see this was 2021. So to do analysis on Mana, well, you just zoom out all the way as far as you can to line up the top of this bubble in 2021 to the top of the bubble that happened during the internet bubble. And then boom, just like that, if you line the charts up, you can see that Decentraland looks like it's in the depression phase of the cycle, just like how the internet bubble was in the depression phase of its cycle at the bottom here in 2002 and 2003, right? Really preparing for that big pump, that big turnaround on the upside. So that's how you map out these cycles. You say, okay, well, I have one bubble. This bubble over here on the right is called the internet bubble, and I have another bubble. Half of crypto, or all of crypto pretty much, was in a big bubble during 2021 at the peak of the parabolic run that happened in 2021. So all I have to do is take the top of this bubble and line it up with the top of this bubble, and boom, all of a sudden, if I line the charts up correctly, I can get a pretty good idea of where I'm at in terms of market psychology. And that's going to give me a huge edge on 90% of people, because no matter how hard you try to convince people, 90% of people in pretty much every single cycle do opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. They're buying up here and they're selling down here. And the way to avoid being that 90%, you just totally lose money, is to map out the market cycle and position yourself accordingly, like buy the dip at the bottom of these market cycles. That's how you stay in the 10% of people that actually make money in this market, and they're not just totally screwed by the cycle itself. So that's what I see here at this Decentraland. It looks pretty good. Play Here Comes the Moon. You know, I totally would, but my voice is healing still. Probably within the next couple days, it'll be fully back to normal. So I can't really sing that one right now, or I totally would. Whoa, you're awesome. Nice. Well, thank you for the kind words. What's your thoughts on Zen? Zen is one of my favorite setups, and this is probably the last one I'm going to cover today because I'm, still trying to get better. And I'm already an hour and 7 minutes in, so I'm probably just going to stop here in just a second. But if you look right here, here's Horizon on the left, and actually the fractal I want to pull up here is Litecoin US dollar on Bitfinex, and let's go back to the first cycle ever. So remember how just a few minutes ago I was talking about how a bunch of coins look like either pre-2017 or pre-2021? That's what their fractals look like. That's what their accumulation patterns look like. Well, that's exactly what Horizon looks like. If you look at Horizon right now, it looks exactly like Litecoin before that big pump that happened in 2017, where the price of Litecoin just totally pumped to the moon and went to like $360 per coin. But what led up to that big 2017 just total parabolic, just totally profitable pump was this, which is the same thing that Horizon is doing. So there's seriously so many setups that look exactly like what the crypto markets looked like before 2017 and before 2021. There's tons of them. They're everywhere. So it's like, for me, I'm like, well, man, I'm just going to just totally buy the dip. I'm totally going to just position myself here, because when this market turns around and pumps, it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be crazy and profitable too. So that's my view on Horizon. Horizon looks really, really good. I will go ahead and just play something on my guitar real quick and then call it a day. Even though I can't sing, I guess I can still play on my guitar for you. So this is Nearer My God to Thee on the guitar. there you guys go. There's your song for the day. I'd keep playing more, but honestly, I better rest and get some rest. So, anyways, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking some time to tune into today's live stream. I hope you found it valuable and enjoyable. If you did, do me a favor and share it with your friends. And I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos and in future live streams. And seriously, sharing it with your friends does me a big help, does me a big favor, because I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. So it means a lot to me when you guys share my content. With that being said, I will see you guys in future videos. And as always, stay profitable out there.